So we've seen the British government are going to take a more harsher stand on migration and immigration into the United Kingdom. And of course, being right beside the United Kingdom and Ireland, and of course, Ireland's policy is just let everybody in and worry about it later. So basically, we have so many people here, we don't know what to do with them. We have a housing crisis, we have a homelessness crisis. Basically, the whole place is a mess before it even happened, like before we even let nearly 500,000 people or so into the country, because the population of Ireland is very small before this. It's been a huge increase, by 5% in the increase in the population over the last few years. And of course, resources are not there for Irish people, so it doesn't make sense why we would pile in more people. But long story short, with the British government changing, they're deciding to make it more tougher like Denmark, and I think every European country should be like Denmark when it comes to migration, because you want the best person to get into a country. And it's not that you have an automatic right. You shouldn't have an automatic right to just turn up in the country and say, I'm allowed to stay here now. You should have to work towards it. What I'm trying to say, that you don't automatically get there. You have to make your case, I suppose. Let's put it that way. And you have to work hard, and you have to put in a lot of effort, and you don't get a citizenship for 30 years or so. So take for example what the UK, one of the guidelines the UK is saying is people that are looking for asylum in the UK, it takes much longer for them to become a UK citizens to get benefits, extra benefits, etc. Obviously, they do get a lot of benefits at the moment without being UK citizens or even European citizens or Irish citizens. It should be the case. It should be very long. Like you should, we're handing out passports and identity cards, etc., to people like candy canes. In this country, particularly Ireland, we're just handing it out like it means nothing. It's just a meaningless piece of paper. But of course, that all includes benefits, etc., etc. And of course, the more you give out, the more the state is out, and the more the Irish taxpayer, the Irish working person, has to pay in the weekly wage, etc., etc. And it's only right, because there's people in this country, take for example, in Ireland, and we have to kind of change it like the United Kingdom. That's my whole point here. Because they will all come to Ireland. Like, let's be fair, the British government will tighten their policies. The next country beside it's Ireland, and of course Ireland's been we have got a bit tougher, we'll admit that. We have got a small bit tougher. I was in Finland recently and came back, and they were checking it before you got off the plane, your passport, which is a great thing. I'm happy to see that. It's about time somebody done something like that. Because what was happening, people were turning up in Ireland, flushing their passports down the toilet before they went to the passport desk. So they have no time to flush it down the toilet because it's literally on the plane. Like, literally they're on the steps of the plane. And that's the way it should be in every in sovereign country. That the border guards are literally in your face as soon as you exit the plane, to find out who you are and why you're here. Not even just for any non-European citizen, for every citizen pretty much of the European Union, to find out what you're doing here, and do you have a right to be here, etc. But of course, there's other stuff too, in terms of benefits, etc. And rightly so, because people who automatically turn up in different countries shouldn't receive a huge amount of benefits, to be totally honest. Because as we see in Ireland, like in terms of asylum, in terms of housing refugees, there's people becoming multi-millionaires from housing refugees across this country. Like, they actually are. There's like one Pharaoh Mulligan that's made 200 million or something like that from housing refugees over the last few years. And who knows if he's paying tax on it? It's probably just cash in hand. The government says nothing. But he's not doing it out of genuine help to help people. He's doing it for his back pocket, let's be fair. Um, and of course, if a country is safe, in a lot of cases, people are coming from Albania, Georgia, and from other countries. A lot of them, we only seen recently a lot of people turn up from Ukraine, a lot of Ukrainian men. But there's a lot of people coming from Nigeria, Algeria, in a lot of cases too, where there's no conflict and stuff. So these are very safe countries, and they have not really any reason to be coming here. A lot of them are saying they've been persecuted, etc., etc. But there's no persecution in a lot of them countries. In Albania, take for example, there's some people even turning up from other parts of the world too. But the thing about it is, and the whole thing back a few years ago, is you go to the first country beside you, you go to the first country of origin, you don't just turn up. Like, people from Africa, Algeria, take for example, seeking asylum, they would probably go to Spain or Portugal. They would coming to turn up in Ireland. I don't know how they would turn up. Obviously, they would have to get up on the plane. But long story short, that's was the whole deal a few years ago, that you go to the first country of origin, you don't just travel around the place. That doesn't make any sense. I suppose it doesn't make sense in the way too. The people just travel from here, there, and everywhere. But we do have to get tough, because, as I say, it's costing the Irish state a bomb. It's costing nearly €2 billion a year to house people, just to house. That's not even including social welfare. Take for example, even just for Ukrainians, etc., etc. And they do have a genuine reason to be here, of course, in Ireland. They're the one people who do have a genuine reason. It's costing 100 million to give them medical cards, like to get free GP care, etc., etc. 100 million is a lot of money, and there's Irish pensioners that can't get it. So you see what I'm saying? It causes huge division in society. It's putting one people against another people, and it's obviously that causes division, causes upset, and rightly so, because it's not really fair. It isn't really fair to people that are citizens of Ireland, who worked all their life in Ireland, get nothing, and a person that just came off a boat gets everything, and it's a reasonable thing to say, because it is true. It is true, and we have to admit, and there's a lot of discontent out there because a lot of people are struggling. If we went around different parts of Ireland and asked every Irish person now, were they able to buy a house, are they able to get on the property ladder, a young person say a 30, they will tell you no hope. And can I even afford the rent at the end of the week? I just barely can. That's what the majority of Irish people would say. So bringing more people into it is not helping the situation. But what I'm trying to say is we have to kind of be more tougher in particularly Europe and stuff, and even not even just in Europe, in other countries too. Even for European citizens to move into Africa or move into Asia or to move into the United States, I do think it should be more tougher too. And even for European citizens going within the European Union, should be more tougher. You should have to prove yourself to stay in somebody else's country. And I would nearly say in this country we should have a limit. Before you get citizenship, you have to pay 100,000 or something like that in taxes. To make it very tough, so you would be very tough and take 30 years before the only person will reach it. Because that's the way it should be. It's a process. You don't become a nationality overnight. It's a process, and especially if you turn up to a country, I do think it's a process. It takes time. You can't just get it in 5 minutes, and you have to understand the country, understand the traditions, etc. But there's a lot more to be said about it. But what I'm trying to say is we do have to up our game in Ireland, of course, because there's so many people turning up and they have no right to be here. And we see with deportations, I'm only getting around the topic now, but the majority of deportations in this country are self-deportations. You're basically told to go on your own accord. The guards don't bring you onto the plane. But we've seen what happened recently in Dublin with a 10-year-old child. That animal, I suppose, that done that to that child was supposed to be deported, was not even supposed to be here. And not even to mention the young lassie was in the care of the state. And absconded, like the word they used was absconded. A 10-year-old child absconded. Like Tusla basically, were trying to wipe their hands with it. And it's a huge failure of the state, what happened there. And people are not talking about it enough, because it is. It was one of the biggest failures of this state that ever happened in the state. And it's the most shameful stuff. Because this fellow shouldn't have been here, should have been sent home a long time ago. And he wouldn't have done this crime. But even then, Tusla too is not looking after our children. That's a different story for a different day. But just to say that out, because it does have consequences. People that are told to go home, they're not done it for no reason. That's what I. And then we have other cases of people that have 3 or 4 identities. We don't know who they are. The list goes on, and it's unfortunate, but it's just the way the world is at the moment. Years ago, you could trust people to be decent, to tell you who they are, etc. Where they're from. But nowadays, it's like it's like an interrogation trying to get information. And it's a pity that it is. It is a pity that we don't live in that high trust society as we used to. But it's something that we do need to look at as a society, because it is, as the UK government have said rightly so, and even in Ireland we see it ourselves, it's fracturing society, it's causing division, like in society, because people are suffering. Only British people, take what's happened in the case of the United Kingdom, only British people are suffering, and they're getting no help, and then people turning up getting things is obviously going to lead to very big resentment in communities, and that's what we see in Ireland. People are very resentful. And not even that, and it's not their fault, because it's the government. At the end of the day, it's the government's fault for all this, for allowing it, because they allowed it to happen. It just didn't happen overnight, and the government allowed it to happen over the last few years. But anyway, let me know what you think. But I do think we should look at the Danish system here, particularly. Now, it might be difficult. All Irish ministers and stuff, they're not known for standing up to the European Union. The EU Migration Pact were a fool us for signing up to the EU Migration Pact. Should have went to the people first of all before the government, because the government just signed it without asking the people, asking should the people vote on it. But no, they wouldn't do that, because they know they're getting the answer they get. But yeah, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more, and bye.